My name's Chris. Our boat is SV Aeronautical. If you look us up online, you'll understand why. But we have moved from owning experimental aircraft into owning a sailboat here in the last few years. I've been a sailor all my life. I grew up sailing down on the Gulf Coast in Texas, and now that we're on the West Coast, we're really enjoying ourselves. Doing some coastal sailing around California, out to Catalina Island, but not to bore you with all of that. When we bought our sailboat, we knew that the batteries were a little aged, and that was one of the things that was on our list to upgrade on the boat. So like most people, when you're doing an upgrade like that, we start going through trying to determine whether or not we're going to stick with the flooded lead acid batteries that we had on board and just simply replace those, or if we were going to try and increase the capacity of the battery banks and perhaps go to something like a lithium bank, a pure lithium bank, and all of the upgrades that go along with an upgrade like that. Our boat at the time had a total onboard amp average of about 405 amp hours in the flooded lead acid batteries, and as you probably know, only about 50% of that is usable, because you can't deplete those batteries down below the 50% level, or you'll start doing damage to a flooded lead acid battery. That led us right into the idea of upgrading to lithium. Several of our friends out here have done that. So we started doing that investigation. And in the process of doing the investigation on how to go about that upgrade, I stumbled across a gentleman by the name of Clark. Their website is EmilyandClarksAdventure.com, I believe. I'll put a link down below so that you can access all of their videos. What Clark came up with, and he's an engineer, what he came up with was a device that he calls the Battery Bank Manager, that allows you to build a hybrid battery bank system, or hybrid house bank battery system, that allows you to connect both a lead battery and a lithium battery into a single bank. It's an ingenious device. There's some real positives in this. Now, I will say that, and he admits that this is emerging technology. This is something that he's developed over the last 2 or 3 years or so. So I hate to use the term experimental, but that's where this technology is. But he's got a great deal of information online, and I would encourage you to get online and at least investigate this for your own uses, because it's a fantastic system and it does some really cool things in the way it handles lead and lithium batteries, and the positives that it gives you on both sides of that battery bank. We're going to be able, using this system, to increase our capacity from the 405 amp hours that we did have on board, or 202.5-ish usable amp hours, to about 770 amp hours using a single lithium iron phosphate battery and 300 amp hour AGMs that we're going to have in this battery bank. So I bought this device from Clark, and you can look up the information that he has online. You can purchase it right off of his website. It's a device called the Battery Bank Manager, and this is it. That's the device. It comes with some other equipment that you need to have to install it. And what I came up with was kind of a drop-in piece of equipment to add this to our boat. So step one for us was to get the old lead batteries out of the boat. There's a little bit of a video on that. You'll see that here in a minute. We replaced those 3 flooded lead acid batteries with 3 AGM batteries. And then the next step is to add this between the lead batteries, the new lead batteries, and the lithium battery that we're going to install. Currently have 3 of these 4D 135 amp hour dual purpose West Marine batteries. They've served their purpose for a couple of years, but not enough power. So we're going to be replacing this battery with a lifetime 460 amp hour lithium. The 2 other house batteries are going to be replaced with 300 amp hour AGMs, and the starter battery and the genset battery are both going to be replaced with AGM start batteries. So the project is to get this one physically out of the boat and get the lithium in place today, and then remove one of the other two house bank batteries as well. To do that, since it's just me working on this, I'm going to be using a block and tackle off of the boom to lift it out of the boat and hopefully swing it over onto a cart to get it up to the car and get it off the marina. Anyway, that's where we are right now. First project, get everything disconnected safely and secured, and then we'll start lifting the batteries. Oh, cut. All right, so we got the battery lifted out of the box onto the floor, and using this little two-way lifting strap that I took off my dinghy davit and my block and tackle off of the boom. And with any luck at all, we're going to be able to lift this battery up onto the cockpit and then slide it back and use this same setup to swing it with the boom off the boat and into a cart. Okay. This is too easy. We got some work to do down here before we go any further. That was a piece of cake. Next step, get the box out and clean. And then we got to get the other battery out of that bank. And then we've got to get the genset battery out, which will require getting a bunch of the floorboards up. But that was a piece of cake. So if you ever need to hoist a battery out of the sailboat, that's the way to do it. All right, so batteries are all out. All of the batteries, with the exception of the start battery, which I replaced last week with an AGM. Everything is semi-clean. We're going to clean this side as well. We got this side cleaned out. I've got a couple of screws. They used pot metal hooks to tie the old batteries in. Of course, they were rusted out, and I had to drill out a couple of screws to get them out so I can replace them with stainless. And when I did, it left a little screw stud, so I'm going to have to grind those down before I can put the batteries back in. But I'll take care of that today. We're going to get this cleaned up, and then we'll start installing all the new batteries. Okay, so part of the installation of the battery bank manager system is putting together all of the contacts and the current sensor for the battery cable going over to the lithium battery. So what I came up with was a shelf that's going to both contain all of this and secure the battery in place in the battery box. And it's basically going to be a drop-in, so that once it's complete, I'll be able to connect the positive from the lead, the positive cable through the current sensor to the lithium battery, and then back out again. Once I have all of this in place, these are the fuses that are required for the system. Once I have all of this in place, I'll be able to take it to the boat, drop it in place, bolt up the battery cables, and start testing. I'm going to be using this 4-strand. I'm going to clean this up it'll connect all of this together out to the battery bank manager that I'm going to mount on a bulkhead inside the battery box. And this is what I came up with. I put everything on a board that's going to be mounted next to the battery. That's also going to be a brace to keep the lithium battery in place. There's another one on the other end of the battery, obviously. So instead of a strap, we're going to have this shelf in there that's going to secure the battery in place. So what you have is a line coming in to from the positive terminal of the lead battery to this switch, a contactor. It's basically a industrial switch, and then the other positive terminal going through a current sensor onto the positive terminal of the lithium battery, and it's all controlled by this brain, the battery bank manager, and it not only protects the two sides of the hybrid bank system, the lead and the lithium side, but it also manages this charge state, and it disconnects the lithium battery from the bank to protect it under certain conditions. I'm not going to go into the technicality of it. Clark does a fantastic job of that on YouTube, and there's a number of videos. All you have to do is go to YouTube and do a search on YouTube for battery bank manager. You're going to find Clark's videos. There's a number of them on there, and he goes into great detail, not only on how to wire this thing up, but what exactly it does. It's not a difficult install if you pre-plan everything. And what I've built here is basically a system where I'm going to be able to go to the boat this weekend, drop this into place, hook up some battery cables, test the box, and then turn it all on. And with any luck at all, it's all going to work beautifully. And we'll go through that this weekend. I'm going to have all of that on video. I'm going to show the setup process, the testing, and the installation of this. I could have, obviously this is a little bit of a mess on this board. I could have used a fuse block for these 3 fuses that we have here. It would have made it a little bit cleaner, but I chose to go with these because I had them here at the house already. They're waterproof fuse holders, basically. So I've used 3 of them here, and you need to be able to get to this one to pull the fuse while you're doing the setup. So that's why I went with that system. But anyway, we'll go into more details. We drop it into place and start wiring everything up, and we'll talk through it a little bit more. But I would strongly encourage you to go look up Emily and Clark Adventures on YouTube and take a look at this device. So this is what we end up with. We've got starter battery, 3 100 amp hour AGMs mixed with a 460 amp hour lifetime lithium iron phosphate battery. The battery bank manager, the rack is going to be going right in here. The box itself is going to be mounting on the wall over here. And I debated that extensively when I was trying to figure out how I was going to set this up. But what I came up with was that that box, the battery bank manager, does offer you some information as far as amp flow voltage, and that kind of information. It's on a very small LCD screen, and there's a button right next to it that allows you to disconnect the lithium from the lead, which is a great feature to have, and I don't want to lose that. So my intention is that I'm going to be mounting it on a bracket right here, and then in the floor I'm going to be cutting a hole and using a grommet, kind of like a finger hole in the board, like you see right there in that board, except that I'm going to use a 2-inch grommet. I'm going to put it right above where the battery bank manager is, so that I'll be able to access the button to disconnect the lithium if I needed to for some reason in an emergency. But it'll also allow me to read the LCD screen to check the voltage and amperage on the battery bank manager. The box does have a bright blue light that comes on when it connects the 2 sides of the battery bank. And I didn't want to put that in the salon where it would just be lighting up the salon when I didn't want it to. Next step in this process is to wire up these AGMs. Check the charger, make sure that those are charging properly, and then we can move on to installing the battery bank manager. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Had a little bit of a hiccup. I've got 2 AGMs over there, as I showed you a minute ago. I did have 3. Unfortunately, it was just a little too shallow, and this battery wasn't going to fit there and still get the floorboards down. So I had to move this battery over here. It's not ideal because it gives me some rather long runs on the battery cables, but not excessively, so I'm not terribly concerned. I'm going to have to lash this down to make sure the battery's secure. But I have mounted the board for the battery bank manager that I showed you. It's very secure. This battery's not going anywhere. We're going to have a run from the positive terminal on this lead battery to the contact, and then of course from this contact through the current limiter or current sensor to the positive terminal here. The bank manager, as I mentioned before, is going to be mounted right here. So far so good. Looks like it's going to be a pretty clean install, and pretty happy with the way everything's going. So we'll see how it works.
Welcome back to day 3 of this install on the battery bank manager on board this aeronautical.
We've still got some cabling to put in, especially with the change to the location of our AGM.
But it should be a fairly quick but methodical wiring of this system. We've got Clark's manual printed out. We're going to be following that step by step to make sure that we don't miss anything, because these lithium batteries carry an enormous amount of power in them, and I don't want to be doing anything wrong and miswiring anything. So I've got to make sure that that everything's done correctly, and we don't miss any steps. The board is in place with the contact, the current sensor, and the battery bank manager, along with a switch. So we just have to crimp on the furls on those wires that you see and attach them to the battery bank manager. We also have to run one positive line from the house bank on this side around to the contact, and then we should be ready to test. So looking forward to this day. It should be a huge improvement to the electrical system on this boat, and we'll let you know how it goes. All right, so everything's done. Everything's wired up. I've got the switch. Bank manager is all wired up. I'm hoping that all of the connections are good. I ran into one issue, that the wires that I used were a little too large with the furls on the end to get them all into the block. So I had to clip off the furls on a couple of the wires and just use raw wire into the connector, but I think it'll be fine. The rest of them all have furls on them, so they're nice. It's a nice clean connection on everything. We'll have to check those, but it looks like everything is pretty secure in that block. I've double checked all of the connections to make sure I've got the proper wires going to the proper connections. And the next step is I'm going to go through the manual and power it up exactly like Clark suggested. So the first thing that the manual says is to remove the contactor coil fuse. And I've done that. The fuse is out. And basically he says to power it up without the fuse. It'll prevent the contactor from closing. And I did check this with a multimeter to make sure that that's in the off state. So it is open. And this will prevent it from closing until we're ready to do that step. Then it says, note that your system must be running in the correct nominal voltage. I checked that. I did add a smart shunt to the entire system, and then I checked each individual battery, and it is running at the nominal 12 volt. Let's see, with the fuse removed, turn on the switch for the first time. It says in a few seconds you should be greeted with the battery bank manager splash screen. Then you should see a display showing the lithium voltage and either the lead voltage or the amps showing to from the lithium bank. So next step is, with the fuse removed, it's removed, turn on the switch for the first time. And there's the splash screen.
We'll let it run through. And there it is, lithium 13.06, and it's showing 0 amps connected. It's showing the bistable relay and connected at 100%, which is exactly what we were told should happen. Let's see, configure your bank manager. Let's go through each menu item and configure your bank manager to your needs. Or opening the menu. To configure the bank manager, first power up the device using the switch. We did that. Wait for the splash screen. We did that. Then push the knob once. And there's our menu. You will see the configuration menu. Note that whenever you enter the configuration menu, your bank manager will disconnect your lithium banking, and we know that it's already disconnected because the fuse is out. You can use this as a quick way to disconnect your lithium batteries. Just push the knob to enter the configuration menu, and the contactor will open. And I said earlier in the video that although I've mounted the bank manager down here, I don't want to lose that ability to disconnect the lithium from the system with a push of that button. So what I'm ultimately going to do is in the floorboard, I'm going to cut an oval finger hole 3 inches wide right above this spot, so that I'll be able to see the menu and activate the button even with the floorboard down. It'll probably add a nice little blue glow when this guy's lit up when the system connects, but I'm okay with that. It's a clean solution as far as I can tell, and I think it's going to work real well for us. So anyway, factory reset. There is a factory reset option. This should have already been chosen during testing, but you may wish to start by choosing this option. Selecting factory reset and then yes to set everything to a good starting position.
I'm going to stop.
Sideways.
So there's the factory reset position. It says to select the reset, then yes. So I'm going to select it. And it comes up with no. There's yes. I'm going to select yes. And now we're back to the menu. So let's see, next step. In most cases, you will only need to adjust the following important menu items. These two items include, or these two items appear with an asterisk on page 18. Okay, the lithium bank size. So we can look for lithium bank size. Lithium bank size right there. I'll select that. And my lithium is 460 amp hours. So 460 amp hours, I'll select that. And the contactor type should already be set to bistable. There's the contactor type, we'll select that. It says bistable, we'll select that again. Charge 2. This tells the bank manager when to stop charging your lithium bank. So charge 2, right here at the top, is set at 100%. I'm not quite comfortable with this, so I'm going to set it at 95 for now. Clark says that he's very confident that 100% will work just fine for these batteries. I want to make sure, since this is a new system to me, that that I'm comfortable with it before I take it to 100%. So for right now, I'm going to set it at 98.5. And right here in the manual, it says, he goes into some detail about 100% being the most accurate. And then it says under 98.5, where I just set it, this setting is very similar to 100%, maybe a version
for the timid. And that's exactly what I am. I'm a bit timid because this is new to me, but I'm okay with that. I can go back and reset it to 100 later. He says it's probably the second most accurate setting, and then below that you can select in 5% increments all the way down to 80%, and then it jumps down to 50%. I'm okay charging to 98.5. We're just going to leave it right there. Max full battery volt. Once the battery bank manager has determined that the lithium battery bank is fully charged, indicated by an asterisk on the display, the bank manager will not allow additional current to enter the lithium bank as long as the lithium battery's voltage is above the value chosen in the setting. I'm going to go ahead and go to max full battery volt. Max full battery volt, and it's showing 13.4. Then it says the default value for this setting is 13.4 for 12 volt systems. 12 volt lithium batteries are usually considered safe from overcharge damage when at or below 13.48. So I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to choose 13.4. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, resume operation, and I'm going to select that. And then we're back to where we were, showing lithium at 13.0600 amps connected to 100% with a bistable relay. It says under normal operations, you'll see 1 and 2 screens. So at this point, we can go ahead and shut it off. I'm going to shut it off. And I'm going to replace that fuse. If I can find my fuses. And Clark recommends a 5 amp fuse for the contactor relay, or contactor fuse. So 5 amp fuse. I'm going to replace that and put it back in its waterproof holder. So our fuse is in. I'm going to switch this back on. And I believe he says in the manual that on the first startup, we're going to hear a couple of clicks. Before trusting your bank manager and your installation to run autonomously, it's important that you verify this operation. For the first couple of charge cycles, you should watch the operation of the bank manager to verify it's operating as you expect. So we're going to go ahead and turn it back on now. And I heard the contactor. There's the splash screen. There's the contactor again. And we have lithium at 13.05, showing minus 2 amps, connected 100% bistable relay. It works exactly like advertised. Went through the steps, double checked, triple checked everything, and it's showing the charge. Because when I first connected it, the voltage on the lithium was down to about 13 even or so, 13.05, something like that. So it's charging right now off of shore power at 31.5 amps. And it's connected. It's connected to the lead side, which is really cool.